B'karoi b'yameinu b'inyan olam v'chisei David hoy David avdecha hoy meheira l'saycha tachinai uvnei Isa b'karoi b'yameinu b'inyan olam v'chisei David hoy David avdecha hoy meheira l'saycha tachin.
Here we are, another Tisha B'Av. It's amazing how quickly the year goes by. Just a minute ago, we were sitting here again talking about what we thought the last Tisha B'Av, and now we are here, another one. And welcome to the show. This is a show that we're going to be streaming with you live until the end of Tisha B'Av, hopefully the end of the last Tisha B'Av ever in our history. The goal of this show, the topic of the show, the theme of the show is the missing link. And the whole show that you can expect here, we have an incredible guest list for you. Incredible individuals are coming in. We've got audio files of those that couldn't be here, emails that you have so graciously sent to us, asking and answering the question that we've been asking you, which is, what is the missing link? What's missing? We've been at this for so long. How much longer can we do this? How many more ways can we slice this apple? How many more times can we try to approach the whole Tisha B'Av, Gullus thing? What are we missing? What's missing that we're going to continue, that we have a chance, and even a hope, a prayer, that something that we can turn on this year is different than what has been going on every year since that fateful day, Tisha B'Av, when we lost the Beis Hamikdash. And we're going to hear from a lot of people, and we're zoch in a minute to hear from an incredible individual. And I want to just explain to you why we asked you this question. This wasn't because we were asking just for some help in content. We asked you this question for a very specific reason. Because when you think about Klal Yisrael, when you think about what we're missing, Gullus, rarely do you find the one answer. It's not like there's a smoking gun that we've missed. That Chazal and all the tzaddikim and all the Gaonim and all the Rosh Yeshiva, everybody has just sort of missed along the way. There most likely isn't one link. There most likely is many links. There most likely are many different bricks that need to be filled into the larger building of the Beis Hamikdash. And for those that took this exercise seriously, and what you're going to hear for the next 2 hours are various different opinions of what we think is missing. And for those that took this seriously, or even has the chance now, as maybe you were busy until now, but Tisha B'Av, you got 2 hours left. And these last 2 hours of maybe one of the most pregnant spiritual days of the year, if you just take a moment and ask yourself, what you'll find is not what's missing in general. What you'll find is what's missing in specific. You'll find what's missing internally. You'll find a piece of yourself that has something to add to the world. Because the answer for what you think is missing could be why you're here right now. Why the Eibishter has you in the generation of Geula. Why right now, at the end of time, HaKadosh Baruch Hu put your soul in. Maybe what you think is missing is what you need to add to Klal Yisrael. What I hope you'll see in this show throughout the entire 2 hours are different people's opinions, people that we respect, people that we love and that we admire, people that have emailed us. And hopefully over these next 2 hours, you'll find either a piece of what you agree with, or you'll be able to come up with your own answer, so that hopefully throughout the year, you'll put your missing link into the larger chain. That hopefully next year we'll be able to have this show streaming live from Har HaBayis. May it come soon in our days. We're going to start the show with an incredible individual. You know, we are being hosted right now with a great, incredible shul in Brooklyn. The shul is called Ateres Shlomo. And this shul has been such an incredible host that right now, not only is this our 5th show here, between Tisha B'Av, Yom Kippur, we had a show if you remember, this shul is going through renovations. And they have maneuvered and worked it out just so that we have the schus to be able to broadcast live here. And we're zoche to be joined with the Morer de Asra of that shul. Mordechai Tversky is here, the Harnestopel Rav, an individual who is a beacon of hope, a beacon of knowledge and inspiration to both the Brooklyn community, to shul, but to Klal Yisrael at large. And it is my schus to have the Rav on the show. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And again, thank you for incredible hospitality.
This is our greatest pleasure. A whole year we look forward to be able to be part of all of Klal Yisrael.
Thank you. And it's a schus for us, and as you know, for the theme of this year's show is the missing link. We're trying to ask individuals, what do they think is missing? Something that people can hold on to. Because sometimes, you go to Tisha B'Av, I got to tell you, I have this feeling, and I go and I'm overwhelmed by all the things that I've done wrong, and overwhelmed by it's not even like on Yom Kippur where I could be better, right? This is like the base Hamikdash. It becomes so big so quick. Yeah. So what does the Rav think is a link that's missing that we can hold on to this Tisha B'Av?
It's fascinating because HaKadosh Baruch Hu always puts pieces of Torah into our minds, into our presence, that we would not have seen it, yet plugs right in exactly at the moment that we need. I have here a parish on Megillah Seicha from Reb Henoch Levine, contemporary Talmud Chacham, and he wrote his parish, what he focuses on is Targum. He first did a parish on all of Targum Yonis and Ben Azil throughout the Chumash, published it, and went on to Megillah Seicha, and went on to he's going through Tanakh, all the Targum, and giving collections of all Divrei Chazal on each piece of Tanakh, each Targum. And he has on Megillah Seicha, and actually he gave the title to his entire series based upon the pasuk in Eicha Sarasi B'Amdinos. Right, this is, Hashem is the master among all the nations. So I want to share this little piece of Torah with you, because I think it just hit the right tone. He says on the pasuk, the second pasuk of Eicha, Bachor Tivcha Balayla. This is one of the great, passionate expressions of Yirmiyahu and Navi, which is one of the reasons why we say Megillah Seicha only at night. Because Bachor Tivcha Balayla, go out and cry in the night. V'dimas alechya, and her tears are upon her cheek. Ein lo menachem mikol havel, there is nobody to comfort her among all of those who love her, who have loved her. So he brings a piece of Torah from his Rebbe, the Marash, the Bob Verub Zechron Lebracha, our great uncle, and he asks a phenomenal question, brought down in Chazal on the pasuk in Tehillim V'tishkema b'dmo sholish, that David HaMelech says that Hashem has paid attention to 3 tears, and the Medrash says those 3 tears were the 3 tears that Esav cried when Yaakov took the brachos from him. Right, he cried 3 tears. Because of those 3 tears, Esav would always have a shlita, would always have an impact upon Klal Yisrael. So he asked the question, he says, okay, we understand that the Esav Arasha was very powerful, and his disappointment of having lost the brachos was so great, but 3 tears, look at the river of tears that Esav has brought through Klal Yisrael. It should have been Batul Ba'elef, tens of thousands, right? Those 3 tears, how important should those 3 tears be? That the Klal Yisrael's tears over these 2,000 years or more since then didn't wash it away. So he says, what was Esav crying about? That he lost the brachos of Olam Hazeh. Right here, Yitzchak was giving him all the brachos that he could have given, that he gave to Yaakov, he could have given to him, Etala Shemayim, right? V'yitilchom Etala Shemayim v'brachos. So he was crying because he lost Olam Hazeh. He wasn't interested in Olam Haba. He was crying because he lost Olam Hazeh. He says, when we cry, Tisha B'Av, what are we crying? We're crying because we're in pain, because we're in golus, because there's illnesses, because there's poverty, because there's sorrows in Klal Yisrael. What are we crying for? We're crying for the pain of all of the kehilas that have been destroyed in Klal Yisrael. We're crying about Olam Hazeh. As long as we're crying about Olam Hazeh, it's min b'minoi. It's the halach is that when you have something that's being mixed with its own kind, it never becomes bottle. She says, so our tears for Olam Hazeh. She says our tears should be for the Rebbeinu Shalom, for the Shechina that's missing. If we're not crying for the Hashem, for the Rebbeinu Shalom, then our tears will not. Then the tears of Esav will never be bottled. If our tears are for Olam Haba, if our tears for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for the pain of the Shechina that is not presence, is not in our world, then our tears will be mevatel, the tears of Esav. That's the essence of his piece of Torah here. And it struck me deeply because there's another thought. It says, person davens for somebody else. If he needs it, his tefillos would be answered first. It has to be answered first, was answered second. Yeah? Just say, because it's a selfless tefillah. He says, but I thought about it in this context. When we daven and we're in pain, so we're considered in pain. Yes, Rebbeinu Shalom, I know I can't daven because I'm in pain. I can't learn Torah because I'm in pain. But when I daven for somebody else's pain, I'm not in pain. I'm davening because somebody else's connection to Hashem is not good. I said, Rebbeinu Shalom, look how much you're missing because this Jew is in pain, because this Kehillah and Klal Yisrael, this part of Klal Yisrael is disconnected from you. And that wouldn't make a difference which part of Klal Yisrael we're talking about. Wherever there's a disconnect between Hashem and Klal Yisrael, are we crying for it? When we see a non-religious Jew being Mechal Shabbos, are we crying? Are we saying, look at what's happening in the world? There's so much pain in this world because your Shekhinah is not found its presence in this world. So come mispal about Chaveroi. I can see the Rebbeinu Shalom. I see somebody else's pain. I understand somebody else's pain. Rebbeinu Shalom, I understand your pain. Please bring your Shekhinah back to the world. There will be no more pain. Then the answer. And the answer's there. So if we try, because it's sometimes hard for us to imagine the Rebbeinu Shalom, the Shekhinah is in pain. But if we take a look at somebody else, we can see how disconnected they are. It's very obvious that Hashem's Shekhinah is missing in that person's life. So Rebbeinu Shalom, please bring your Shekhinah back to this world. You'll heal somebody else. Then our tears, those tears, will never be bottled.
Wow.
They'll only be bottled if we're only thinking about ourselves.
Amazing.
So I felt that this was the right piece of Torah for the missing link.
Absolutely.
Because it's true that chesed is something that we have and we need, and in Klal Yisrael does a tremendous amount of chesed. We need to do chesed for Hashem. Hashem needs our chesed.
Wow. And
if we can give Hashem that comfort to know that we are experiencing the pain of His missing being in our world, then Esav's tears will become bottled.
Amazing. Thank you, Rav. We really appreciate that opening remark. I honestly believe that if we can get to that level, where we can be able to think about the Kodesh Baruch Hu, the whole game begins to change. Yeah. We appreciate you being here. We appreciate you being a part of this, and thank you again for opening up our show with such a tremendous inspiration.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give you the koyach to be able to inspire all of Klal Yisrael, and the Rebbeinu Shalom will be happy to.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we continue with the show with that incredible opening remarks from the Rav. I got to tell you, this is we can shut the show down now. I mean, that was an incredible way to open up, to think about, not just thinking about what works for us, the Olam Hazeh, and Gullus being a relief of pain, but being the brokenness of the Shekhinah, to think about the Kodesh Baruch Hu that way. Amazing. And I want to now continue the show, but really begin to pull it back a drop and introduce what this show really is about, where it's from. It's Project Inspire. For those who know Project Inspire is one of the most dynamic organizations around today that has been working tirelessly on inspiring the Jewish people to become close to Hashem. And I am joined with my faithful partner. I mean, how many years has this been with us? Yossi Friedman of Project Inspire. Yossi is the managing director of Project Inspire. Yep. Is that the right title?
That's correct.
I know, because you do everything there. You're involved. You got an incredible team. We've got behind the scenes. We've got Yaakov Ginniger here working tirelessly. ZK's in the house. And the entire Project Inspire team has been around this. But Yossi, I have to say that, like I mentioned to the Rav, it's, you never really want to come back to Tisha B'Av, but every time I come back there and I see you again, it's a little bit of like it's like the booby prize. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like no matter which weekend I go to, which convention I go to, and Charlie's not here, I know for sure I'll get to see him Tisha.
Right, exactly.
Whether it's here or in Yerushalayim, I'll get to see Charlie.
Exactly. And remember last time, for those that didn't check this out, last time we did a pre-Yom Kippur one. Do you remember?
Right, sure.
And you were streaming live from Yerushalayim.
Right.
Remember that?
Rooftop.
So we were here in Brooklyn, which is okay, and there are a lot of people that think that it's close to Yerushalayim.
Right.
It's great. It's wonderful. We love Brooklyn, but it's nowhere near where you were. And my bracha is that next time maybe we should do a double in Yerushalayim. That would be amazing, no?
Sure.
So talk to us a little bit about Project Inspire. Before we continue, I know that what we've been doing over the past few weeks is reaching out to everybody and asking them the question, what is the missing links? We've got pages of emails. We've got emails streaming through on our computers right now. We've got audio clips coming in. There's a lot happening. I'm going to give you everybody's opinion, not just ours. Before I do that, just talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about the missing link, what you've seen out there. As you're collecting this data, what are your 2 cents as to what's missing?
You know, for me personally, Tisha B'Av doesn't get easier. It doesn't get easier for many ways, but it's been a long time since I was in camp, you know, and had somebody like speak to you about the kinnis and what it's all about. And I'm still trying to find the perfect second since camp. But you know, you hear different vertlach, and obviously we had many people email in their thoughts, their comments, and I find that I've been able to pick up a lot from people, from the Hamoin Am. Because when you go down, like, you know, down to the masses, down to the regular people, and not necessarily messages of Rabbanim or the Knesset, you get to feel like what people are feeling, and then you can take that message with you. You know, I was in this past Shabbos, I heard Rabbi Avi Newberger, who's the Rav in New Hampstead now in Muncie, by my brother. He spoke about sinas chinam, right? What chinam means, and he spoke about how, you know, we ate like Klal Yisrael complained that we ate all the vegetables and everything b'chinam. What does chinam mean? It means without responsibility. It was just, you know, we didn't have to do anything for it. And he brought out that was sinas chinam, is that, you know, it's not that we hate the other guy, but like we don't really. It's too much for us to get involved in his business, and it's like without responsibility. Like his life is his life, and my life is mine, and I don't really have to be responsible for his. I don't hate him. I don't, you know, I wouldn't, you know, ignore him if he approached me, but to approach him and to really be involved in what he's going through, you know, that's chinam. That's the sinas chinam. And it made an impression on me. Like I actually reached out to somebody that I'm friendly with, but I know he's going through something. And I reached out to him and I said, I'm not going to be a chinam guy this year. You know, so that was like, you know, my missing link aspect.
I think that's a tremendous point that you're making, though. I think a lot of people feel like, hey, I don't really hate people for no reason, so I'm good. I've passed that test.
Right.
I'm clear. And I think what you're saying is I think there's a little bit more of a higher responsibility of, even if you have people that are in problems, in trouble, I think that for us to be able to go above and beyond that, I think that's really what it's all about.
Yeah. I mean, it was really. I think this was, you know, and you make this point every year, so I'll be the first this year is to thank our wives. Actually, on the way here, I did call my wife to thank her.
I was going to make that point first, just for the record. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Because we know. I mean, somebody in the house asked today, when's mincha, and I said it's about 10 minutes before bedtime.
right.
You know,
Mincha Marv is God's gift to the Father.
That's right. So to be here, to be able to spend this time together.
Yeah. There's no question. It's all the wives.
So shout out.
Right. So let's continue on. I mean, we've got a few clips we're going to play for you out there. We asked the opinion of different people. I know that you've got a great clip from Rav Zev Davidowitz.
Correct. He's a manal in the middle school of South Shore. He sent it amongst others that we'll play later on. He sent in a clip of just answering this question, what he thought the missing link was to bring Gula. Of course, and this is something that you brought out, you know, in your opening, is that there is no missing link.
Right.
It's what people in their surroundings can see as a missing link, and like that's what people were able to share with us today.
Okay,
so we have that clip.
Let's go to the audio
clip for you.
Chazal teach us that it was the avera of Geneva ben Adam lechavero which ultimately led to the Churban. Eicha haisa lezona kir ne'amana. How could it be the Yerushalayim, the faithful city, has now turned to be a zona? The Malbim explains it came from a slow drip of averos, of genevos, taking the silver and adding a little bit of metal in it, taking the drink and adding a little bit of water in it. If we are to be able to turn to Hashem and say it's time to bring us back, time to bring Mashiach, time to be Mekayr of the Geula, we have to be able to look at ourselves, our communities, our homes, our businesses, our interpersonal relationships and our friends, and make sure that the Ben Adam Lechavero is free of any Geneva, even the smallest thing. We have to turn to Hashem and say, Tzion b'mishpat tipada v'shaveh b'tzedakah. We're ready to act with mishpat. We're ready to act with justice. then we could turn to Hashem and say, bring us home.
I mean, I think he's exactly correct, and I think that it's something that we should all be taking full advantage of. And thank you for that those incredible words. We're going to turn right now to some of the emails. We asked a bunch of people to bring emails in and to send us emails, and we've got a whole bunch, and we can't get to all of them, so we apologize. But if you're right now watching, what's the email address for this? Radio
at ProjectInspired.
Radio at ProjectInspired.com. Right. So if you're watching right now, and you want to send us what you think of the missing link is, we'll be able to get to your emails later in the show. Radio at ProjectInspire.com. I want to read one that I was really taken by, and I'm going to try to. The person who sent this in didn't want her name to be mentioned, so I'm going to try to figure out how to do it this way. But I want you to hear this, because as soon as I read it, it like blew me away. She wrote, "Hello, my cousin just graduated from United States Marine Academy, and their motto is acta non verba, deed, not words. This could be the missing link. Let me give you an example. I got sick last year. I have been home for a year, b'li ayin hara. Someone from my son's class asked me what we would want in order to help us, meals or visits. I suggested visits because my husband does the shopping. My mother said okay. She came once. That's it. Once is okay, but she was the only one. Most are local. The whole year, the whole community, they asked what she wanted. She said, I want visits because my husband takes care of the shopping. The whole community, the whole year, one person, one visit. Deeds, not words. You can't come? You send a meal even though I said no to that. It would make my husband's load a little easier. Deeds, not words. Make a Kiddush Hashem, deeds, not word. No one from the school came through, even though I invited them to visit. Deeds, not words. No time. Take 5 minutes before after school, Kiddush Hashem, deeds, not words. Let's make the Gula come. Let's take the motto out of, we don't have to take the motto out of the Marines, but unfortunately that's what she's getting it from. Deeds, not words. What do you think of that? That hit you in the gut? That just struck me in the gut. Because I can see that happening all throughout the America. No one's doing this at fault. No one's like, oh, we don't want to. No one's like, well, we're trying to avoid. It's just, it's busy. Life is busy, and it's someone else's problem. In the beginning, they probably jumped ahead, and then she was okay.
This was the point that hit home with me.
From that speech.
Yeah, because there's no cynicism.
Right.
It's not like we don't hate them.
No, right. I'm sure if you ask somebody, whatever this community this is, they're going, yeah, no, she's a wonderful person. Oh, no, it's great. No, we love her. And this person's sitting at home, and they got...
Right.
And no one is doing this on purpose. And I think this is what it means to be a nation, right?
I think people would order a package on Amazon, for example.
Yeah.
But to go and take, out of your time and go and do and visit.
Because I think this is what it means to be a nation, meaning I think if we say that we're a klal, then we have to act like a klal. And it doesn't mean that you have to go crazy and you have to get rid of your family and step all over the time with your kid or quit your job. It means that when you're a part of a klal, then you feel the pain of somebody else. That if someone's struggling and you can go and help, then that's part of what it means. And this could be a huge piece of it. There's a difference between us being sort of the same religion and us being a nation.
Right.
That's very different. And that could be one important aspect about life. And maybe this year, if everybody just did like one more deed, what that would be if hundreds and thousands of people did that.
Right. Again, that point is what hit home most with me.
Yeah.
Because I don't hate that many people. It's a short list.
Yeah.
But how many do?
And those that you do.
How many do I go out of my way for?
Right.
More often than. And
right.
that point really.
I think that's exactly right. I think that's exactly right. So I know that I want to transition a little bit. I know that every year you do such an inspiring video. For those who haven't seen the Project Inspire video, you don't got to watch it only on Tisha B'Av, clearly. You should definitely go in and you'll tell us in a second how to get there. But I know for years on end you've done inspiring video after inspiring video. Give us a little bit about the one you did this year and what that was all about.
Right. So this year, in the past we've tried to show, which is actually the message of Project Inspire, which is that regular frum people know non-frum people, and they can have a tremendous impact.
Right.
This year, I just a shout out to Yaakov Ginniger, who's here with us.
Yeah.
Who
our
really
faithful producer who's here.
That's right.
Can we shine a camera on him for 1 minute? Is that possible? No. Okay. They said no. It's okay. When you're out there, Yaakov Ginniger.
Right.
Okay.
And he actually came up with the idea, and it was a little bit. Inspired by the fact that, Charlie, with these J-Inspired JWP trips, we deal with so many women that are getting other women to go to Israel.
Yeah.
And there are so many frum women in just here where we're sitting in Brooklyn and
Yeah.
Queens and Muncie, wherever,
Long
that
Island.
right, in Long Island, that are bringing non-from women and changing their
Yeah.
lives. And this year, in the past year or a little bit more than a year, we lost 3 legendary women. People who were visionaries, and that was Pearl Banish, Rebbetzin Henny Machlis, and Rebbetzin Esther Youngreis. And I just felt it was the right time to put out a film for women that have role models, that can see that people like this, some of them more regular, some of them less regular, if you
Yeah.
will, who are able to just trailblaze
Yeah.
a path in Jewish history.
Yeah.
And so we put together this film, which to me was a tremendous inspiration, just to get to meet the families of Mrs. Pearl Banish and Henny Machlis, as well as Rebbetzin Youngreis, just to meet their families and to see the legacy that they were, and many of them, their children are already carrying on that
Yeah.
legacy, and we hope to meet somebody shortly who's been doing just that. But just to pull up a short clip from this film, which for those who still didn't watch it, can see it at projectinspired.com. You can go to Yeshiva World as well. We're featured there on the top. It's a women's film. And like I said, women to have these role models of these visionary women that recently passed away. One of the things that struck me of the film is, Henny Machlis. You all know the Machlis. Anybody who learned in Yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael knows the Machlis family had hundreds of guests, and everyone had to speak. And from all, without going on and on here, which you can go on and on. They wrote a book about it, which is tremendous. But her son-in-law, Rabbi Avram Willig, actually is a Rebbe in Eish HaTorah, and he told a story which. It sounds like it's from a different generation. It's hard to believe, actually, when you watch this clip, that this woman lived now. Like,
Right.
this is Alter of Navardik, Alter from Kelm stories,
Right.
from yesteryear. And to watch the family speak about her like this was just tremendous. So I want to play a clip for
Sure.
you, Rabbi Avram Willig telling a story of a Friday afternoon at the Machlis home.
I remember once it was a Friday and there was some type of chicken shortage, I think, in Jerusalem. I don't remember exactly. It was a long time ago. And there were no chickens. There were people coming for Shabbos. And this would happen all the times in different ways. And not necessarily chicken, and Ema was just totally, indifferent, nonchalant, like no worries, whatever. We'll make do with whatever we have. We'll feed them other things. Hashem will take care of it. Fine. Anyhow. And he was saying, it's going to work out fine, it's going to work out fine. I don't know, a few hours later, someone shows up. I don't remember the details, but just someone shows up with like a couple of cases of chickens. He was like, oh, okay, here are the chickens. Let's put them in the oven, Let's just get them into the oven, And I was like shocked. I'm like, where did these come from? How did this happen? Didn't make any sense. No one had chicken. Like, how does she have chicken? But that's how it happened, like, oh my God, Hashem will take care of it. Hashem will take care of it. And I remember thinking, one of the things that was the most amazing part of that story is that it didn't faze Ima. She just lived with Hashem. She was like totally she said, oh, Hashem's going to take care of it. It wasn't like, wow. You're just like, what do you mean? If I ask you for a glass of water, or if I ask you to pass me the fork, I can assume you'll pass it to me. If you ask God, Hashem, can you pass the chicken? He'll pass it. It's like, well, of course that's what's going to happen. So that's the way Shut is very real.
Yeah. So for me to to sit with her children and to hear this type of emunah.
That's unbelievable.
It was really like,
unbelievable.
Yeah, you ask Hashem for the chicken, it'll pass. And in all seriousness, like, that's how she thought.
I gotta tell you quickly, like, this is a theme that I get from so many people, that the level of your bitachon equals the level of the Kodesh Baruch Hu's presence. And so many times I go speak to like a big Makubal or a Rav, and I have all these questions. He's like, oh, do you believe Hashem's going to give it to you? I'm like, no, I do. I'm here. He's like, stop. Here.
Right.
When you have such belief that Kadosh Baruch Hu will take care of you, He just brings it into the world.
They tell the story about a Rav who said, there was a drought, so the rabbi of the community of the shtetl says, guys, tomorrow we're going to make a fast day. Everyone's going to go out into the field. We're all going to daven together, and they set up these chairs and a huge field. And the Rav finally gets up the next day and he says, the tefillah is canceled. We're not going to do this. Everyone's beside themselves, like, you brought us all out here to daven for rain. He said, correct, I brought you out here to daven for rain. Did anyone here bring an umbrella?
Exactly.
right? Did you really think
Right.
did you
That's
really
a big
believe?
deal. It's a big deal. When a Jew has a munah, it's a big deal.
Right. So in doing this film,
Amazing.
we were able to once again meet the families, and like I mentioned before, to see that people are continuing the legacies
Yeah.
of in that case Rebbe Tzemachlis, and we're joined now by Rabbi Yisrael Youngreis, who is a son of Rebbe Tzemachlis Youngreis, who I believe the yard site is coming up.
Next Wednesday night.
Really,
Wow.
it's coming up now.
Yeah.
So it should be a schus for our neshama as
Amen,
well. All
amen.
the inspiration that was gotten from the film. But Rabbi Youngreis, you two are continuing in these footsteps and continuing to inspire people.
Right. So basically, what I'm saying tonight should be a chus for my mother, Esther Bas Rav Avraham Halevi. Her legacy in life is basically not to judge people, and she would hug people. In fact, my son recently told me we have many single events at the organization, and one night it was just for older girls, and they were all waiting online. So I used to say, before there was online dating, people actually waited online to see my mother. But she did not stop until she saw everyone. And the girls are lining up, and there's a lot of pain on their faces. So as they're lining up, she gives them a hug, gives them a kiss, and then she would say, "What's their name?" Because she did not judge anyone. And they all walked away with chizuk. And she was a real combination of bracha and tefillah. Everywhere we went, she would just give people brachas, and she had a gift, and that's something we learned from her, and she learned from her father. So not to judge people and to always greet people b'sever panim yafos.
You know, Rabbi Youngreis, one of the things that I was just amazed by in this process of this film that we did was everyone we interviewed would say the same thing, that they felt when they sat in a class, didn't matter how many people were there, that they felt that she was speaking to them. And that she had this uncanny ability to, people would say, like, they would turn around to see if there are other people in the room. That's how direct they felt that they were speaking. What was it about, your mother's messaging and Torah messaging that she wanted people to walk away with when they left her classes?
Well, she would always say she learned everything from her father. She would call it the Heilige Zayda, the Tata. And my grandfather would always say, when you give a drasha, you give a speech, you have to make sure the mensch and the olam walk away with something in their pockets. And no matter what, people would always say she felt, whether it was the parsha or anything she would speak about, people felt that she was talking to them. They would walk in there and direct. There was always a message, and I think that's a very important lesson when we do kiruv, to give people a message. And I was thinking what to answer regarding this wonderful question. I think it's that concept of not to judge people. I think not to judge our neighbors, not to judge a person until you know what's going on in their situation.
Right.
I find that when I've met your mother a few times, and mostly just watching, mostly just sitting there and being, frankly, in awe, because she was an incredible presenter. She would have an entire. It was amazing just to see. She was standing in the middle, and you'd have hundreds of people just totally, without a microphone on Yontif, just totally spellbound. And I wonder, and I'm asking, I wonder if it's when you're so on a mission in life, that you're so immersed in mission, you're so immersed in Hashem, you're so immersed in purpose, that you don't have time to get petty. I remember when someone told me, like, small people have small problems, big people have big problems. I'm asking, I wonder if one of the things that made her so unique was that it felt to me that she just had a mission. It wasn't the pettiness of the little things, like, oh, you don't look like me? Oh, you don't what? You're not from my neighborhood? It's like she was almost above it. It was almost like she was looking past it, and she looked into a crowd. She saw Klal Yisrael. She saw someone in the corner. It was. Is that something that do you find that to be true? And if so, was that something she developed or something that she always had?
Well, it's something. She always said it was a Messiah from the Zaydas. That she always to look at for Klal. She loved her people. And in fact, we put the Matzeva up a few weeks ago, and the first line of the Matzeva reads that she loved Klal Yisrael. It was a burning level in her heart. That was the first line of the Matzeva, and she lifted up those who are heartbroken and broken, and she gave them chizuk. This was her situation. I remember there was a time we went on one of our trips to Eretz Yisrael. We went to Ben Yehuda on Mata Shabbos. She's looking for neshamas. We walked into a pizza store, and there was a girl, a young girl, like 16, 17 years old, and her whole face was full of earrings and nose rings, and it was just a bit, it was uncomfortable even to look at her. My mother says to her, like in Hebrew, she said, and the translation is like my Zizkeit, always with a Zizkeit. What do you need this for? You're beautiful. What's your name? And she says, my name is Malka. Malka, you're a queen. You don't need this. And my mother gave her a kiss, and she was crying on my mother's shoulder. Because a lot of these girls, they have no one to cry to. There's no shoulders to cry on. This was her real expertise.
But, you know, the stories, you know, that I've experienced and I've heard from the different people here are just enough for many books. But one thing that also struck me is that, you know, we get a sense that Rebbe Youngreis Shalom was like you mentioned, the bubby that, like, you know, would come in and hug you and love you and not judge you. But in speaking to people, when she really believed something, she would tell it to you the way it is also. Like, she didn't hesitate. We interviewed a fellow who she called in the middle of the night to tell him that he should get engaged to this girl because that was the right thing. She didn't mince any words. Like, she believed in it and she told it to him, and he appreciated that.
So she that is very true. If she believed in something, she would tell it to you. But she knew how to speak, and, you know, especially my own children and the grandchildren, she knew how to speak to them also on their level. Each child was very, very special, and she knew how to connect to them. She was a real people person, and this is a big zechus that we had. All those who knew her were, they always said, they're very, very, very lucky. She was really larger than life.
Well, it was my zechus to be involved in this production overall, and to meet different people at Hineni, and to see the great work that not only she did, that you're, you know, following in her footsteps with you and your sisters, and there was a great zechus, and it should be a aliyah for her neshama.
Amen.
Thank you for joining us.
And thank you for your wonderful work, Charlie. Good to see you again.
Good
See
to
you in
see you.
Simchas.
Continue
Thank you.
the legacy.
Amen. Thank you. Shkoyach. Thank you.
And now we're going to go to a brief sponsorship video, and we'll be right back. And welcome back. It's an honor to be back here with you. We just came out of what I thought was a great interview with an incredible individual. He was so Rungreis. I mean, just to talk about his, you know, Rebbetzin Youngreis that way. And I think what I'm hoping you're getting in this show, what I'm taking from the show, are bits and pieces along the way of what the missing links are. That's the goal. And we opened with the Rav, and the Rav spoke about the idea of living for Hashem. And we heard the different clips about taking achrayus, and we read the emails about really being a person that thinks of somebody else, that goes a little bit beyond what each person is saying. And I think what we just heard from Rabbi Youngreis was this idea of looking past the pettiness, taking people for who they are, stop judging, and just take people for, just don't think past what's in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, in this production of being able to meet his whole family and understand better what Rebbetzin Youngreis lived for, that was it. I mean, you were her child, her grandchild. Didn't matter, you know, what you look like, what your background was, and that was why people really, you know, connected with her, because, you know, quite frankly, she was unique in that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we talk about pushing people for more, we talk about bringing people closer to Hashem, it's hard to have that conversation here in Brooklyn without really talking about one of the most exciting organizations here in Brooklyn, and that is Rage. Rage is an organization that just a few miles up is doing incredible, incredible things. In many ways, filling in those links to what Geula is. And we're joined right now with two incredible individuals, Rabbi Goldstein and William Gorelick. Did I say that correctly? Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. And we want to talk to you a little bit about, how you see the world. We're talking today about Tisha B'Av, and the theme of today's show is what's missing. What's missing in the Jewish people? What's missing around that isn't making us as awesome as we could be? That's the goal of the show. And as a person, as people that are involved in such an exciting part of the Jewish people, tell us a little bit about what Rage is doing, and maybe share with us an insight what you think is a missing link to why we're not the nation that we can be.
Well, I guess I'll answer in the order that you asked. What Rage is trying to do is we're trying to bring to our particular target audience, young Russian students and professionals who have been estranged from their background, coming from the former Soviet Union, either themselves or they were born here and their parents came. They were robbed, to borrow a phrase from Uri Zohar. We were robbed of our heritage. I myself am an immigrant from the Soviet Union. And I was a complete atheist growing up until 20 years old, not because I thought it through, but because that was just the way it was. It was obvious.
So right now, just let me slow this down for those who have no idea what you're talking about, because I don't. Because I was born here in Brooklyn. Not here, but close enough. When you mean robbed, you mean that in the Soviet Union there is no religion. That means when you go through the schools, it's nowhere. What does that mean? Like, you have no context for it?
Sure. I mean, when I say robbed, I mean it quite literally. It was the government official sanctioned policy to destroy Yiddishkeit.
Oh, wow.
Right? If you tried to circumcise your son, you were sent to Siberia. If you tried to learn Torah, you were sent to Siberia. Right? You hear stories of people that had underground hidden, they taught Aleph Beis, people from America, American Jews that would smuggle in Sfarim at great risk to themselves and to the people. It was an incredible drive and passion to learn, but it was unbelievably dangerous.
Wow. And that's still that feeling is still around today, in the Soviet Union. I'm asking.
Not so much, not anymore. It's gone now. Now in the Soviet Union is gone.
Right.
Now in Russia, the Ukraine, there are synagogues, there are Chabad houses, different rabbis.
So the whole world
Torah
has changed until now. And
yeah, I mean, even Putin's got rabbis as good friends.
That's true.
Now,
That's true. I've seen that before. Right. Putin's got Hanukkah menorahs all over the place. Right. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
If you don't get together with the Chabad, he knows where his bread is. But there's no question he's a smart man. So talk us a little bit about what Rage is doing right up the block here, and what you think is missing in terms of Geula.
So what we're doing is we're trying to give an incredibly positive experience in context of a Jewish experience. For Russian Jews have never had such an experience before.
Right.
So we try to give them the whole shebang. We give them Torah learning, social experience, Shabbosos, and an Israel trip. Right. This is a second level trip for people who have done Birthright, even if they haven't, and try to give them something that they walk away going, wow, I'm proud to be a Jew, and I love being involved in Jewish stuff. And hopefully, our ultimate goal is to then hand them off to people who will take them further. Send them to yeshivas, send them to Jewish communities. We feel like we're kind of the gateway drug to a deeper Jewish connection.
That's a good one. And who's this wonderful man sitting next to you?
So this is William. William is one of our students,
Awesome.
and he's a good friend of ours, and he was happy to come down.
So William, tell us a little about your experience. What was it like when you got involved in Rage? What got you excited about this?
I was excited. I was interested in learning more about Judaism. My background is not so much different from Rabbi Goldstein's here, in that I wasn't born in the Soviet Union. I'm born here in America in '91, but I went to a public school. I was fortunate enough to have a stepfather who was very pro-Israel, and he got me in touch with different rabbis here and there. But basically, I didn't have that much. So. I went to the synagogue itself because it's the Rage headquarters is actually in a synagogue. So I was going there at first, and then I ended up going to Rage, Birthright and Rage, and I've been going there for many, many years already now, 7 I believe. But I found it very happy. There's a big community there. There's amazing rabbis. One of them is sitting right here, and it's helped me a lot. And I've gone on a trip now very recently. And Rage just has a way of bring about things which Birthright, for example, isn't so good at. There it's more just fun. Here it's actually Jewish learning.
If you can take any bit of your Jewish learning and identify one moment that was the most inspiring, like what was the insight that you think, if you look back and you say that was a key moment for me, what was the insight for you that really sort of made that difference to get you more active and more involved? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
That's kind of tough. One thing I'm really impressed with, I find the families of rabbis when I go on Friday nights. One thing that really attracted me, but not even Rage, just there's a certain Rabbi Vashovsky, who actually has spoken at Rage also. I would go there and he'd have his family of 5 kids and wife, and they're all, and my other rabbi who's living in Lakewood now. And just seeing that, and because a lot of Russian Jews, their families kind of broken, maybe more so than regular Americans, but or Jews. But so when I saw that like cohesiveness and the love basically in the family, what's what attracted to me. And in general, at this point or more recently, all of the lectures that the rabbis have pretty frequently, they center around personal development and growth, and it's a big thing. It's important, and it's something I aspire to.
Yeah.
William, as I'm hearing you speak, I'm hearing you speak about the family life and the love of family life, and what you seeing that is really what inspires you to see. Oh wow, Judaism is a family-oriented thing that's healthy, and it's maybe something I didn't have, and like that's it. And yet, I'm thinking that there are thousands of those families that you're describing living within a mile radius of this shul we're sitting in right now that sometimes don't appreciate what we have. What would you want to tell those people to appreciate what they grew up with, what they have, and how much you, as quote that outsider, appreciate what they have?
I'd say just to take what they have and delve into some organizations. The Rage isn't the only one of them, even though I think it's really good. And listen to things, pursue different avenues, and
get involved.
Exactly, get involved.
Yeah. Use what they have, what they grew up with, what we sometimes take for granted, and get involved. And you know how many people are probably watching this, and even in this room, that don't know that Rage and Kiruv organizations exist
down the
here
block
in Brooklyn. It's like Kiruv is like Alabama,
right? Unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely. Rabbi, if you can share with us what you think in terms of your perspective as to what's missing today, what would it be?
I have to quote my Rosh Hashiva, Rav Noach Weinberg, and something that I heard him say on more than one occasion that really it was that lesson was the reason I got involved in this this avenue. He said, if God forbid your child was sick, right, you would become the expert in that illness, right, because it matters to you. So no one could tell you, well, you just don't have the ability, you don't have the skills, you don't have the time. It doesn't matter. You prioritize it, you will develop the skills, you'll develop the expertise, and you will do your absolute best to fix this problem. And he said, you guys, you think you don't have the skills, you can't speak, you don't have the Torah knowledge, you don't have the ability to convince people to come to a Shabbos table, maybe to go learn some little bit at a yeshiva. He says, but if you thought it was your son or your daughter or your brother or your father, you would become an expert and you would make it happen.
Yeah, achrayus. Yeah, excellent. What a incredible message. Thank you so much for joining us. It's an honor to have you both on the show.
Thank you.
May we be zochen maybe next year to do this in Yerushalayim.
Amen.
Thank you.
What an incredible group. I mean, unbelievable to have this incredible opportunity where we're sitting here with such incredible people here to talk about what they're doing. And the same theme continues to come up here, achrayus. Right. And I think this is really one of the key themes. It seems to be what the missing link is.
Right. And, it's achrayus, and somehow that achrayus is translating into going a little bit beyond what we're used to going.
Yeah, out of the comfort zone.
A little bit out.
Yeah, we actually have a clip on that, right?
But we have,
we have a clip from Yaniv
Meirav from
Chazak. Yeah.
He shared with us. It was literally moments before the show. We had to get him in there because
Chazak's an incredible organization. A shout out to them. I had the opportunity last night. I was there last night in Chazak. I got to tell you, I was there. The place was. He asked me to come by. I'm like, I'm happy to come, but it's 10 o'clock at night on Leil, right? That means you could be sleeping, right? During the day, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you doing? You're staring at the star. But at night, usually after you come with Tinas, and I pictured 50 people. He packs the house, all day kinos. an incredible individual doing great stuff. Talk about people that take a chrayas. Yaniv is one of them.
Amazing. You just sent this literally as we were walking into the show today. We'll share that clip.
Let's head to the clip from Yaniv.
I think that this will bring geula. What's this? This is getting out of our comfort zone. What do I mean? Obviously, everything that we've ever done up until now is not enough. Obviously, it's very good. It's great. But Mashiach isn't here. The Beis HaMikdash is not rebuilt. We have to get out of our comfort zone. We have to get out of our seats. We have to get out of our beds. We have to get out of our sitting back and relaxing modes. And I believe, in my humble opinion, going full force and making a difference and changing the world, that will make this geula come speedily in our days. And I believe with our positivity and community leaders and rabbis, we will be able to do this. But we have to get everyone on board. Men and women, young and old, Sephardim and Ashkenazim, believe Echad, Kisha Echad, and that's what's going to bring Eretz Hashem, the geula.
I think that's what he's talking about, right? Coming out of your comfort zones. That's what it's all about.
Stepping out.
I want to read one more email. This came in from a man named Isaiah. If you're out there, we're reading your email. I think this was so incredible. Here's how it goes. I want to first preface with this. This is how he writes it. I'm a BT, and I'm not the most learned person. First of all, I disagree with that whole thing. You're incredible, and the fact that you're about tshuva is even better. And the fact that you're writing this, amazing. We love you, and you are totally, totally as learned as you need to be. And you could always learn more, obviously, but it's wonderful who you are. First major problem, it can be summed up with an experience I had yesterday. A frum Jew was asked a question and responded, "It's the 9 days." Ready for this? I will tell you after Tisha B'Av. Don't you love that? It's the 9 days. I can't do Lashon Hara in the 9 days. After Yom Kippur, that's when the fun begins again, right? Because after Tisha B'Av, we're off until Elul, right? Until Slichus comes in, until Avinu Malkeinu comes, which we'll talk about in a second, because we have the head of Avinu Malkeinu here with us today, but I'm not going to give that away yet. That quote is why we will not see Geula. I can understand Jews who are not yet frum, but when it is someone who grew up religious saying, "I will tell you after Tisha B'Av," it only shows that we're willing to watch it we speak for 3 weeks. But once that's over, we'll go back to our old ways. We will never merit to see the Geula if we do not take the 3 weeks and 9 days and bring that into the rest of our lives. Isn't that great? Isaiah, if you're listening, you're watching this is amazing. Second, this I am not sure, since I am not so learned. Once I heard a mashal for fifth son at the Seder meal, which says, "Our father will not start the meal until all the children are present." Yes, the Orthodox Jews will follow all of these laws, but until we bring our brothers and sisters together, our Father in heaven will not start the meal. Unfortunately, if we wait long enough, for those brothers and sisters will not longer be Jewish, and we will only be left with the Orthodoxly present at the meal. What do you think of that? Incredible, right? 2 points: be real, have integrity, and think about other people.
It's also the eyes of they say when a Baal Tshuva becomes frum enough is when he starts talking in shul. Here you get to see us. It became so normal.
Right.
Like, speak to me after the 9 days.
Right,
Like
the Shabbos gret. We'll sell you the car at the end of Shabbos.
Exactly. And this guy is viewing it from his angle. So, which is a point to think about.
Absolutely. Speaking about inspiration, speaking about being real and having integrity, speaking about an individual who has lived his life trying to bring all the children to the table. We're joined today, right now, with our frequent guests. We make sure that every show, we begin our show anchoring around this guest here. Rabbi Zachariah Wallerstein's in the room, and as you know, what he's been doing for the people both in this neighborhood and across the world is really, really, it's in many ways, it's in ways that we never will know, because most of what you even see, you don't know. And I've had the opportunity to travel. He invites me on the Avinu Malkeinu tour. So I get to just see every community that goes on, what's happening a little bit, and that's only a little bit of it. And Rabbi Wallerstein, thank you so much for joining us and being part of the show today.
My pleasure. Next year, in the Chutzner, the Beis HaMikdash, I hope.
I know, and you're very excited because you're a Kohen, so you're going to have some
I don't even know if I'll talk to you
we're
guys.
only reason I'm invited to the shows because we're waiting for Real Protexia when it's going to be very busy to get to me.
Erev Pesach, when there's a big line.
Right, Erev Pesach.
Charlie, I'll get you around the back. Don't worry.
I appreciate that. I guess my second question is, will there be an Or Nava Pesach program if it's in Yerushalayim? That's a different question.
Sure not. I just want to hang in the Beis HaMikdash.
Right, just chill it out. So you're an individual. I've seen you every hour. I think you're somewhere this Tisha B'Av. But more importantly, what you're dealing with all year is really Chorban. That's what you're doing. I think that you're building every day of the year. You're putting a brick in the wall and trying to save another neshama. what do you think is the missing link? What's missing today? What is, we're doing so well on so many fronts. Klal Yisrael's ready. We're poised and ready for greatness. What do you think is still missing?
I think we're very disconnected from God, and I think that's the most important thing. I mean, I've been speaking a whole Tisha B'Av about the question of why, there's a big change by Chatzos today at 1:02, and everyone gets up, they sit on a chair, we put on tefillin, we don't say tachanun, so it's krui mayit. It's called a yontif. Doesn't make any sense. If anything, the destruction of Beis Hamikdash was because of sinas chinam and the 3 cardinal sins. Today's the day to say tachanun,
Right.
to do tshuva on what they did that caused the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash. No tachanun, no avinu malkeinu. It's a yontif, and I really changed my Tisha B'Av speech from all the years that I've spoken. I've gone down a totally different line this Tisha B'Av, and I just listened to your text message. I don't agree with Isaiah at all. I think that we should celebrate that the guy said after the 9 days, because Shlei L'Shma Bo L'Shma, maybe if he keeps it for 9 days, then after the 9 days he won't say it. So I would, from my standpoint, you got to grab everything positive, like our famous, Yosef and the Spice Train, that you got to grab everything positive that you can. So if someone tells you, I'll talk to you about it in the next 9 days, at least we have that. At least we have, he's going to keep the 9 days. There are other people that would have talked Lashon Hara right there and then. So when you're in the business that I'm in, it's not a business, but seeing so much pain and seeing so much atheism, every little bit that you can get, we celebrate. And the reason that we celebrate on Tisha B'Av, that's a yontif, is because we a whole morning, and this really, I had a very unbelievable message from my Rebbe, Rabbi Gamliel, which you'll appreciate this year, which also totally flipped me. That we're mourning in the morning, we're talking about everything that happened to us, the 6 million Jews and crusades and everything that we've gone through, destruction of Beis Hamikdash, and then comes Chatzos, you look around the room, and you're like, we went through a lot, but we're all still here. The yontif of Tisha B'Av is that we're all still here. Being able to appreciate in your darkness that you're still here, and if you're still here, you have potential. If you have potential, you have life. So we're sort of celebrating Klal Yisrael. The word Tisha, we speak on Pesach about the word Tisha. Tisha miyodea. Tisha yachid leida. So the number 9 represents birth. Mm-hmm. So the 9 days, and Tisha B'Av, the 9th day, is when Mashiach is born. What does that mean, Mashiach is born? I don't know literally. Everyone's looking for a Menachem that's born on that day. But Mashiach is born because out of the despair that we're going through, we're still here. I was telling them today, it's like a car, chas v'shalom. There's 4 guys in a car, and they go off the road, and they flip 5-6 times, and they end up going down a ravine, down a cliff, and the car is smashed to smithereens, and the 4 of them are in the car, and they're all looking at each other. Moshe, you okay? I'm okay. Are you bleeding? No. Chaim, how you doing? I'm okay. They're all okay. They're all in their seatbelts. They're all okay. So, yeah, it's a little hard to get out of a car that's upside down. They get out of the car. What are they busy talking about? The car? The car gets towed. Maybe we'll take some pictures, send it online that everyone should see the car that they walked out of. But they're talking about, I'm alive. I didn't even get a scratch, man. It's unbelievable. We got a bench goimel. We got to make a sudas haydah. What are they talking about? They're not talking about the crash and the car. How many times did it flip? Who cares? We made it. That's what Tisha B'Av's about. We talk about the car going down the ravine and everything that Klal Yisrael is going through. Personal pain. Every person has their Tisha B'Av. Every person has their Eicha. And we're talking about all this pain. But then, all of a sudden, we're on our head, so to say, and we look around and we're like, but I'm here. We're here. These guys that we're talking about, the Romans, the Greeks, the Babylonians, they're all gone. That's the yontif. That's the yontif of Tisha B'Av. And I just have to tell you something which I think you'll find very interesting. 2 days ago, I was talking to a girl who was very badly abused and is in the middle of therapy. And one of the therapies she's doing is art therapy. So they sort of draw, and from their drawing you can see their pain or their hope or whatever it is. Everything she draws is black. She brought me her whole folder. Black. Birds that are black. The sky is black. Everything's black. No other color. I said, no other color? She says, Rabbi, I live in despair. I live in darkness. I don't know how to draw anything but darkness. I said, you think darkness is despair? She said, yes. I'm like, I want to tell you something about the next 24 hours. Last night was dark, right? The whole day yesterday, I'm depressed. I'm like, I have to go speak. I don't know how I'm going to fast. It's a very scary day. And we're all like looking at our watch. I have another hour to drink water. Another half an hour. Someone told me I should eat grapes because they stay in your stomach and then they explode during the fast. No, doesn't work. A lot of other ideas, right? So you're very scared of last night. It's the beginning of Tisha B'Av. Within 24 hours, we're sitting here right now at 7:30, and we can't wait till it's night. Because the minute it's night, we can eat, and we can drink, and the whole world changes. So I said to her, look at 24 hours. Darkness could be despair and fear. Tisha B'Av's coming. And darkness can be, wow, it's
Redemption.
over.
Yeah.
Same darkness. So this Tisha B'Av, instead of talking about kids off the derech, kids ODing, people dying, cancer, crisis shidduch, I said, I'm not going that way at all. I am talking about the darkness that we're looking forward to. I am talking about the beauty and the moyed of Tisha B'Av. And that's what I talked about the whole time. But I want to tell you, because you love my Rebbe very much. So I called him up. I said, Rabbi Gamliel, what's the message? What's my kavanah? That's what I asked him. He said the following. He said, number one, you need to know that all the kinnis and everything you say has nothing to do with you. We're not saying that kinnis for us. It's not about our pain and the 6 million Jews who died. He said, it's about the 6 million children, Jews, that were God's children that died. He said, the whole Tisha B'Av and the whole kinnis and all the murder in Eretz Yisrael and the girls that jumped off the boat and the Asereh Hurugei Malchus, it's not about us. We're reading all about this, that now we understand, Hashem, how much you lost. It's nothing to do with us. And it's the pain of the Shekhinah, and that's what Tisha B'Av, and in the Zohar it says that if you want Mashiach because you want someone who died, you want to see him, or you someone who's sick, you need Refuah Shlema. So the Rambam quotes you in Apikairos. He says you have to want it for the Shekhinah to come out of the Galus. And this is, I'm going to end with this. This is the line. And he says to me, when you daven Ma'ariv tonight, Matzei Tisha B'Av, where are you going after that? It was like a strange question. I'm like, what?
Eat?
What? I'm like, what is the Rebbe asking? I want to know where you're going from shul. I said, I'm going home. He said, all the people in your shul, where are they going after Ma'ariv tonight? I said, they're going home. He said, all the people in America, Chutz La'aretz, where are they going after Ma'ariv tonight? I didn't understand where he's going. I'm like, they're going home. Well, there's someone who's not going home tonight, and that's God.
Wow.
And therefore you have to cry. We're all going home. Tisha B'Av's over. For him, Tisha B'Av's never over. His children are in Galus. His house is burned down. He has no home. So don't forget that Matzei Tisha B'Av. You may be going home, but he has no home.
Wow. Rabbi, you blew us away again.
That's Rabbi Gamliel, not me.
Whew.
So that's the focus. So it's a very different focus, this whole Tisha B'Av. And that's why it happens to be you got that email, and last year I would have ripped. We said, this guy, 9 days. What does that mean, 9 days? Right? Like I would have been like that. No more. If you to bring Mashiach,
Softer, gentler.
It's the deeper look.
Right.
It's a deeper look.
It's
Don't
very
tell me
true.
why I got soft.
It's
a deeper look.
There are those that are going to the mountains, though.
What?
Not home.
But they're going to the right. That's even better. They have a second home.
Right.
God doesn't have a first home. I
It's
wouldn't even
home
tell
too.
him that. I get into trouble. I'm not telling him that.
Yeah, I absolutely love what you said. In fact, what I opened with when I went to Ornava today, I opened with what I find is the greatest Tzivah Shalom, and I'll give it to you. The Tzivah Shalom basically says this idea, which is that the whole purpose of 3 weeks is to find the kusta dichius, the life force. This is the beginning of the darkness, is also the beginning of the light. So it's an incredible message. And you continue to inspire us, and as always, we appreciate you being on the show. We appreciate what you do for all of us and all the class all year long. When we're all
We try.
Shkoyach to you. Thank you for
Should
coming
be
again.
much
I know
Thank you, Rabbi.
You guys are,
Tisha B'Av is not a day off for you.
Right,
You're
right. I think
bouncing.
you're bouncing here and there and everywhere.
It's it's the day that the Kahanim really, of everyone that lost something. You know how proud I am to be a Kohen.
Yes.
So, of everyone that lost something today, my little tribe lost the most. We have been unemployed now for over 2,000 years. And I go to the Kaisel a lot. You too? You're Kohen?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, I'm surrounded. I got a lot of protection here.
Mr. Levi?
No, I'm a Sparty. It's okay.
Go
We're-
sit
over
we
there.
we own the
Go
base of
sit over
Mikdash.
there.
We
Go
bought the
sit
base of
over there.
Mikdash early.
I'll get
okay.
you in through the side door.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Anyway, so we should have this chutz next year to be back in that base of Mikdash. But we're the one that are waiting on the unemployment line. So
Yeah.
I want to be there first the minute the door opens. Mitzvah Hashem.
Amen.
Anyway, thank you.
Thank
guys.
you,
You're doing
Rabbi.
amazing work.
Mitzvah
And
Hashem.
the whole organization, they just a whole year they're plugging away.
Yep.
They're bringing people into the fold. They're bringing Hashem's children back to Him. It's huge. It's huge work. You should have lots of chizuk.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. That was Rabbi Wallerstein joining us right now. As always, an inspiring figure. I mean, I think he has been in a dozen places since Tisha B'Av began. I can tell you personally, I've had the chance to be with him on the road, and it just doesn't end for him. People are coming to him 24/7, and he is of the most sincere individuals in Klal Yisrael today. And I think, Yossi, just to review a second before we go to the next piece, and I think we have another clip, right? Do we have another clip that we can play? Before we go to the next clip, I just want to review what I took away from what the rabbi said, which I think is what Rav Twersky opened with, which seems to be another theme. So I'm seeing two themes in this whole show so far. We didn't put any of this together, but just for those who are listening, I'm getting two themes. Theme one is a little bit more achrayus, step out of your comfort zone. And theme two is start thinking of Hashem. It's a big deal because we usually see him on the other side of the table. Like, we've got the tough life, and he can just sort of sprinkle magic dust whenever he wants. But to actually turn around and go, no, actually, he created a system, and when we're actually not doing the right job, he can't do that, and to feel bad for that. That's an amazing concept, no?
Yeah, and I think what he pointed out from Rabbi Gamliel Rabinovich from Yerushalayim is that, we all have a top 10 list of why we want Mashiach to come and why we don't want there to be another Tisha B'Av. And what he was saying is, do we realize that Hashem is not going home?
Right.
And like that's a whole different mind. I will say, by the way, that to see Rabbi Wallerstein, on the positive note of things, means that Baruch Hashem we're doing better as a community.
Right.
I would say, but that I think was his point, is that to know that he's not going home tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what Wallerstein does for the community and how much he sees, to be able to really to play that role and to say those things is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
As an individual who's constantly inspiring people, it's really amazing. I know you've got a clip, so please, what's our next clip?
Yeah, I mean, just note that things have been flying in,
Yes, I'm getting them
lines.
also. So those who are emailing us, thank you. We're going to try to get them all. In fact, maybe we'll post them somewhere or whatever, but we're getting a ton, and we thank you for sending them in. But
and people are sending them at radio@projectinspire.com. We've been getting nonstop emails. We have another audio clip that was sent in. Ari Neuwirth sent in a clip with his message, what he believed was the missing link. Again, we're speaking about a missing link, one of the missing links to Geula. We have a clip that Ari Neuwirth sent in shortly before the show today. Let's go to that clip.
A young man once approached the Chafetz Chaim. He asked him, Rebbe, what is delaying the arrival of Mashiach? The Chafetz Chaim responded, we don't know why Mashiach has not arrived. We cannot understand the thoughts and calculations of Hashem. However, we can daven. Whereupon the Chafetz Chaim prayed and says, Hashem, the longer it takes for Mashiach to arrive, the more distant we become from you. Please bring Mashiach speedily in our times.
So that was Ari Neuwirth, who's a Manal in Derech HaTorah High School, who sent that in as well, the story of the Chafetz Chaim. We're just rolling right along. We'll keep getting these emails coming in.
Can I just read two right now? I want to read two that just came in, one from a girl named Tehila. I believe that people have a misconception that helping or caring about a friend is for when it works for you. Very similar, very good. I feel it's time for everyone to start to go a little out of the way to help people. And when you show Hashem that's sure to bring geula. Thank you so much. Excellent. And this one comes in from Cheryl. I've learned that when we were slaves in Mitzrayim, only 1/5 were redeemed. 80% of them didn't merit to leave Yetzias Mitzrayim and subsequently experienced Matan Torah. Why? Why didn't they want to leave? And our times, I wonder if we, me included, could just leave everything, our comfortable homes, well-paying jobs, good standing in our communities, religious freedoms, abundance, extravagant lifestyles. Would we also say geula in theory sounds fine? This is really, I think, really, really good. Like, we're all big talkers here. We want geula, like we want geula now. We want geula after the summer because we're in the country. You know what would be a good time for geula? Right before Yom Kippur.
Right.
That would be like perfect geula time. Right? And only if I can get a house the same size and it's not so hot and they don't speak Hebrew. That's the deal for geula. But I'm so used to my lifestyle here. Who knows what's waiting for me there? I think it's a great point. The question is really, do we want geula enough that there will be no doubt? I believe its missing link is the ratzon to really, truly want it, to be able to leave all behind and follow Hashem fully with confidence in Him and ourselves that we, Hashem, deserve the geula. I got to tell you, on the way over here, I was listening to a clip, and the person who I was listening to said a great point. He said, if you don't live in Israel, it's okay, but shouldn't you ask somebody first? Like ask a shayla? I wonder if that's a good exercise for us. Like for those, I live in America, right? I'm proud to say that. And I wonder if all of us should just take a half an hour, whatever we have left. The fast is over in an hour and 20 minutes. So I wonder in the next hour and 20 minutes if we just take 2 minutes and ask ourselves, like, would I move? No? Yes? Am I really serious about geula? And if the answer is no, what can I do to really up my game to be more serious about it? That's just, I don't know what you think. Well, you live in Israel, so it doesn't count. So look, we're moving on to our great guests here. Do you want to introduce our guests? I will. If you
go ahead.
Okay.
He needs no introduction. He's the one who orchestrated this whole show in Rory Twersky Shul.
That's right.
He's where we break our fast every.
That's right. That's right. Rabbi Yoni Zakatinsky is with us. He's with us with a man named Aaron Yankelovich. Did I say that correctly?
Eric.
That's what I said.
Aaron, you said.
Eric, I said that. I'm reading off the sheet here, but yes, it has been a long fast, and we know each other because, and for those of you who heard any of the earlier classes that I had the opportunity to speak about my trips to Israel with the guys who I love so much, Eric is one of them. And Rabbi, thank you so much for joining us and bringing Eric with you. We're talking today about the missing link, what we think is missing in geula. Give us your thoughts as to what you think is really missing today in the community.
Okay, so let's go back to one of the trips that we went on. Which I want to say that being with you, Charlie, we're coming again on another trip, but this is the J Inspire trips, that Project Inspire and J Inspire partner up with the JWRP, and there are women's trips that go, and there's men's trips that go. So the criteria for the men's trips is that they have to have a family and they have to, primarily that their wives had gone on the trips already. Yeah. So we spend a week together. So there was, if we're talking about Rabbi Gamliel, Rabinovich, so I'll just tell a brief story and we'll encapsulize the essence of what these trips are about. We went to him on a Motzei Shabbos, I think it was, and we were with a group of the Chevra, the men who went, and the men, were not predominantly observant, and Rabbi Gamliel took out a bag, and I was the translator. He pulls out a bag, puts it on the table, and goes, "Gentlemen, you see what this is?" So they went and they said, "No, we don't know what this is." So he goes, "I have people's names that my responsibility is to go to all the kfarim, all the graves, and I go and pray on behalf of all these people who want me to pray for them. But the condition of having your name put into this bag is that you have to do something. You have to take upon yourself a Kabbalah. Take upon yourself something to do." So we're sitting there, and he says, "Well, would you be interested in having your name here?" Of course, they said yes. We told him what a holy person he is, etc., a saintly person. So they took upon themselves to get tefillin. This is 20 guys, get tefillin, and put them on regularly. And I have to say that throughout the trips, people have changed their lives. People have, whether it be kashrus, whether it be mikvah, whether it be tefillin, whether it be Shabbos, different avenues that people who have gone on these trips, these are non-religious gentlemen, men and women, who have made tremendous strides in their lives. And it's done through, and I have to say, through people in the community who get involved with them, from people who get involved with them. We have something called the Black Box Breakfast that we get together, they put on their tefillin, and we have chavrusas, and they get involved with it on a regular basis. So what you'd say is what's lacking in the community? We need more people to get involved, more from people to get involved, to be partners, to learn with people.
You don't got to tell Yossi twice. I mean, that's like Yossi's smiling ear to ear on that one. I don't know if you
were here before. This fellow William was saying that that's what he appreciated. It was the from people. Let me ask you, Eric. Thank you very much for coming on here and joining us. You went on a trip to Israel with Project Inspire, with the J Inspire. How was that trip? You know, give the people that are viewing this an idea of what the trip's about and how impactful it is, and how impactful it was in your life.
Absolutely. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. And, you know, you go on one of these trips and you heard before that people who have gone, people come back and say, I don't know if I can explain it, but you have to go on this trip, you know, and it's one of the things that resonates so much for us. You know, the camaraderie that you build with, you know, guys who are from, guys who are not, and, you know, especially for somebody like me who comes from a background that, you know, wasn't really always there. On you know how much I would follow from the point of view of Yiddishkeit, it really opened up, I think, a lot more comfort in that regard. And you know, one of the other things that for me, frankly, meeting Charlie, I mean, I've gone back since then and listened to probably pretty much all your podcasts.
Thank you. That's very nice, Eric. I appreciate it.
It's just, you know, for me, this trip specifically, it's not just about, you know, start wearing tefillin, start keeping Shabbos, or doing anything else. It's more than that. It teaches you, and you know that's when Charlie comes across so you know, powerful in his talks about how do you just be a better husband, a better father, a better human. You know, how do you maximize your potential and what you have inside you, and then when you know a little bit, or when you hear a little bit of how you connected to maybe Yiddishkeit, it comes together a lot more, and that's, you know, kind of goes back to making more sense of 1 second. It's not just about doing things like, you know, putting on tefillin and going to daven maybe when it has no relation to you, but when you put it all together and you realize perhaps that, you know, there's something bigger here, and it ultimately translates into just a better, more productive life.
I appreciate your kind words, and you're absolutely right. The goal, I believe, of Judaism, the goal of what we're trying to accomplish really is a better life, being better, making sure that... I think that's what Tisha B'Av is really all about. It's this incredible gift that God gives us that says, I know that you're not enough, as opposed to me forgetting about you and moving on to the next nation. I'm going to make sure that you don't forget that and torture you in a way, physically, so that you remember to be more. And that's why you can have a radio show where the whole show is about being better. And I appreciate you saying that, because it's exactly right to capture it that way. If you can, like, take a message that you think that you've heard, or message about Judaism, what resonates with you? What message do you think, out of everything that you've read, heard from the rabbis, the people you've seen, what resonates with you as something that is so unique about us, or that's something that excited you, that was an insight that you think is so important for us to hear?
Well, from the trip specifically, if that's what you mean, the connection there was how much people are willing to sacrifice, you know, to live in our land, and how clear it is that it's our land, and no matter what happens, that will never change. So just to see the dedication of people to that commitment, that this is where we belong, this is who we are, as people and as Jews. You know, people have changed their lives and dropped stuff by making Aliyah. I mean, some of the people we came across, and you see the sacrifice they've made, and you sit there and you ask yourself, you know, can I ever fathom going through this?
Yeah.
You know, even though my parents, what they did for us when they took us out from you know, the former Soviet Union, and they had it well there, but they saw that the future was not there for them. I can't imagine even being able to go and travel and check out the, you know, in advance, and then taking your family and moving. Our parents did that with their eyes closed, so I can relate in that regard and saying that, wow, people did this and they're pulling this off.
Yeah.
So the you know, that message, that it brings me closer to, you know, kind of solidifying that this is the real thing. It's the real McCoy, as they say.
Yeah, sacrifice. That's such a great idea. You can't really get things in life if you don't sacrifice for them. Right. And lots of times in life we want things, but we don't want them bad enough. I think that's exactly right. I think the state of Israel is a place where people just sacrifice. And otherwise, if it was too hard, we would have closed up shop a long time ago. Rabbi, what are you seeing out there today as to the next sort of stage that people need to go through in the frum community to really get more active involved with what's happening with Eric, with other people, with you? What's blocking people? Why wouldn't everybody want this? I mean, I was on a trip with you guys. It's awesome. We have the best time. You know, you go to a Shabbos table, like, Kiev isn't like carrying a bag of bricks up a hill. You know what I'm saying? It's meeting amazing people. It's talking about the greatness of the religion that you already committed to and practiced. It's like people like say like, oh my gosh, like it's so great. It's not so great. It's so much fun. Like it's like the greatest secret that Kiev is the best stuff. So what's the block? Why aren't people more saying, yeah, of course, I absolutely definitely want to get involved?
So first of all, Charlie, I'll tell you that I haven't found too many people who say they don't want to get involved. However, you know, we have family life, we have our businesses, we have our parnasa, we have responsibilities, and you know, maybe it's not in the forefront of their lives. However, I'll say as follows, and I'll say this to everybody who's out there in the audience, and I'll say it to everybody: if we can touch somebody, and it's about caring about somebody, Kiruv isn't about necessarily making them religious. Kiruv is about the achdus of Klal Yisrael.
Right. The idea,
the
camaraderie,
connecting, whether it be learning with somebody, and if you don't know the answers, you know, it'll help you find out the answers. Number two is it's about sending somebody a birthday card. It's about, you know, calling somebody up and if they're not feeling well and visiting them in Bikur Cholim. It's about inviting them for Shabbos. There's so many different, going out for a cup of coffee. There's so many different avenues of kiruv that a person can get themselves involved. And you know where to find us. You know where it could be. And I'll just answer as follows: as we live, and I'll just end with this. We live in a time that, Charlie, you know, your children are good. You're good. And you ask yourselves, what's going to happen to my great-grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren, my great-great-great-grandchildren, who we might never meet? How do we know that they're going to be all right? So the Chassam Sofer said as follows. He says, when you take care of Hashem's children, he'll take care of your children. So I give the charge to everybody who's listening to this radio station that get involved, go past your comfort zone, care about Klal Yisrael. Hashem should bless you. This should be the last Gullus, minutes of Gullus. We should all meet in Yerushalayim.
Thank you so much for coming.
I want to point out, Charlie, that in front of Rabbi Yoni Zagatinsky, that there's no better person to be able to give that message over, because you and I know that Yoni and his wife Shalamis, who, for those who still didn't see the film, can watch it at projectinspired.com, are exactly that.
Yeah.
You walk down the street Shabbos, they're walking with people that they've brought closer, that they care about as friends.
Yes.
These are not projects. These are Jewish people that they care about and give their lives for us. So thank you, Yoni, for everything you do. Thank you for joining
Eric,
us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eric. We're gonna Charlie. We're gonna pause now for a sponsorship
break
over here, and we're gonna come back. We have more guests. We have more emails. We have some other recordings.
Show. We still have 40 minutes till we're done with our show.
A lot
more to go. Stay with us. And welcome back. We just heard from Yoni, from Rabbi Zakatinsky, from Eric. I got to tell you, I get so inspired by individuals like Eric. He is such an inspiration, and I had the opportunity on these trips to meet so many people like this. the Jewish people are incredible, and you see individuals like he had mentioned that didn't have the background that other people had, and when you put them in a situation where they can learn and grow. We had someone earlier here, a few minutes. It just shows just how lucky we are. We take it for granted a little bit, and just how much we can give other people. And if you notice, the message was very similar. It was a chayas, right? It was a chayas, responsibility, get out of your comfort zone. It's the small stuff. It's diving for the ball. It's not the big, we got big issues, right? The community, we're there, just closing the gaps on some of the small things that hold us back.
Also, amazing thing about meeting Eric and William we had before is that these people, they're not anti-Jewish. It's not like they're not interested in this stuff. Is that, both of them are from the former Soviet Union. William was born here, Eric there. They just didn't know.
Yeah.
And they had an opportunity to join through Project Inspire, through JWRP, to come on these trips, to meet Charlie Harari, to get on his podcast, and really to be connected. And you see how inspired a guy like him is, in knowing all of this.
Yeah. And isn't that what this film was really about? Wasn't the film really about this idea of going outside your comfort zone?
It was. And we showed a clip from the Machlis part of the film.
Mm-hmm.
We spoke to Rabbi Youngreis. What's missing here is the Pearl Banish, maybe the least famous of the three. But Pearl Banish was a Talmidah of Sarah Schneer.
Wow.
And I'll get to that in a second, but one of the clips that we had in the film that it was one of those moments, when you're doing a film and her daughter, Mrs. Eisenberger, got up already and she mentions this story to me, and I said, no, guys, you go sit down again. You got to tell the story. She was with 200 non-from people, and the way it was described was they didn't look anything Jewish, we'll call it. And here they were in the steps of a big shul in Borough Park. And she, after speaking to them, wanted a group picture with them. So she stands up, group picture, these 200 students around there. She wants to be in the middle. And as she's there, two Hasidic ladies walk by, and they say to her in Yiddish, Petchka, she says, these are your grandchildren? And without flinching, she says to her, yes, these are my grandchildren. That's how she felt, that every Jewish person, was her grandson or granddaughter.
That's a great story.
But she was a Talmidah of Sarah Schneer. Her daughter says that she used to walk around the corner, and Sarah Schneer used to see her from the window, and she used to ask her, can you ask your mother if she lets you come collecting with me? And they used to go door to door collecting.
Wow. And
what's amazing about this hearing of from a Talmidah, really a neighbor of Sarah Schneer, is that, Rabbi Goldstein before mentioned Rav Noach Weinberg, from the little that I got to see Rav Noach while he was still alive, he would always mention Sarah Schneer. And Rabbi Chaim Samson, who we'll have in a moment, we'll get him on the air here, tells over the story. He's fun telling over the story because when you understand what a Sarah Schneer was, you could understand what a Talmidah of Sarah Schneer was, and that was Pearl Banish, and that was what was so inspirational. So we have the opportunity to have Rabbi Chaim Samson, the managing director of Project Inspire, on the line. Rabbi Chaim, do we have you on the line?
Thanks, Charlie. Thanks, Yossi. Yes, it's true that Rav Noach Weinberg Zatzal used to tell us frequently about Sarah Schneer. In fact, he used to tell us the story of Rav Chatzkel Sana, who the Rosh Yeshiva of Hebron, who famously got up at a bris milah where all the children and the grandchildren of the Rebbes and the Rosh Yeshivas of former years, the grandchildren of the Chofetz Chaim and the Belzer Rebbe, the Gera Rebbe, the Alter Nevada, the Alter of Slobodka, they were all there. And he got up and he said, I'm going to tell you who was the greatest person in the last 100 years. And it was none of your parents or grandparents. And they said, Rav Chatzkel, sit down, don't cause problems. And he continued. And he said, not only that, but this person didn't even learn a Black Gemara. And they were up in arms. Sit down, Rav Chatzkel. But he continued. And he said, not only that, when I tell you the name of the person, you're all going to agree with me, the Kach Hava. He told them the name, and they all agreed. And who was it? It was Sarah Schneer, the founder of the Beis Yaakov movement. And Rav Noach went on to explain to us, what was the secret of her success? So she explains in her diaries that she was a seamstress. And as a seamstress, all the daughters of the religious families used to come to her. And she was able to see up front how far they had strayed from the ways of Torah. And she cried. And she said to herself, I, as a seamstress, can clothe their bodies, but where are their mitzvahs to clothe their souls? And she cried, and with that tear of care, she undertook to do something, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a siyata d'shmaya. And Rav Noach used to look at us and say, we can do the same. All it takes for us is to have that same depth of care. And perhaps this is the message that we can take with us as we go from Tisha B'Av to the forthcoming year, that if we can shed a tear like Sarah Schneera, that if we can shed a tear for Achenu Bnei Yisrael from the depth of care, where are their mitzvahs? And that we can undertake to do something about it. Bezras Hashem, we should get siyata d'shmaya from the Ribono Shel Olam, that we should be able to see all of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children coming back to Him with Torah and mitzvahs, with the Mashiach Tzidkenu, b'imheira v'yameinu b'karov mamash. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Sampson, for that. I had a slip of tongue. Rabbi Sampson is the international director of Project Inspire, sharing that story from Rav Noach about Sarah Schneer. So that was the inspiration that I had in meeting Pearl Banish and seeing that was what she instilled in her Talmidot.
Yeah, I think the idea of Sarah Schneer, I think it really fits that same theme of an individual who just took such a chayes for other people, and that's sort of it's almost a theme that people I find a lot of time people feel like, well, there's leaders and then there's me and then there's great people. They feel like almost like disconnected from the people that are in charge, and it's hard to appreciate that the people that are in charge, they just take on more chayes, right? No one like pats them on the back and goes, "You're in charge." It's not like, you get like, "Oh wow, I am Ben Achaben from David HaMelech, so apparently I'm going to be sitting in the right chair." Right. It's like Roy Wallerstein just took a chayes, right? And Jefferson Young Rice just took a chayes, and Sarah Schneer, like being in charge, having responsibility, being a leader in Klal Yisrael, doesn't have the resume. Today, I think we've been a little resumed out, right? It's just individuals that step up, realize what's going on, and go a little bit further.
Right. And I think that's true. I mean, that was exactly the point that Rav Noach would bring out in Sarah Schneer, is that she was a seamstress. No one had to come to her and say, "Hey, it's time. It's time to set up that Beis Yaakov system."
Right.
She saw the need, and she got up and did it.
And then she got the ability after she took responsibility. That's a big Rav Noach concept as well, right? You first take responsibility, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu gives you the ability.
Right. I mean, that was his. That was anything you read up or hear about Rav Noach. That was ingrained in his talks. That's what he was. That's what he would speak about.
Let's go to one more email. This came in from a man named Israel. Rav Ovadia Yosef said he saw in a dream a Mashiach whose legs were stuck to Rav Ovadia Yosef. This is coming. This is big stuff. So for the Svarim that are listening to this, listen even closer. Mashiach whose legs were stuck in the floor outside the gates of Yerushalayim. So he saw Mashiach in a dream, and he asked him, "Rabbeinu, when are you coming?" He answered, "How can I come when there are 1 million children in Eretz Yisrael who do not know Shema Yisrael?" So Rav Ovadia Yosef was saying that we have to go out and be mizakeh es harabim. What do you think of that? That's fairly powerful, don't you think?
It's along these lines. It's interesting because Pearl Banish, going back to her daughter, said that she believed Mashiach was going to come every day. So people would say, it's been so long. Like, how is he going to come today? She said, he just has short legs. he's coming. He just has short legs. But for them, they saw it coming, and
they lived with it. Yisrael Salanta was rumored to say that when he passed away, that he never would have gotten through life had he known that Mashiach would not have come in his days. Like, he never anticipated going the entire distance without him. No. It's being real. That's what it is. It's just being real. Got a great one from Janaya. Janaya emails me and says, "What's it about? It's about going out of your element and not being afraid to take risks. Truly being real with yourself and others, inviting others, and just giving people the time so you can bring them closer. Just loving others." That's what it is.
Yeah.
Be real. Be a little bit more. That's really what the point of all this is. Really, it's not anything beyond us. It's not something that we haven't been before. It's taking where we are right now and pushing a little bit more. If you got some more stories, you can just email us now at radio@projectinspire.com. We are joined with an incredible guest here.
Before we get to the guest, we have another clip that came in. From Shragi Goldschmidt. I believe that he sent it your way. Shrag Goldschmidt sent in a message again. These were
Yeah.
last minute, as people,
Yes,
we've been
we
sending out
thank
emails
Shragi for
for a
that.
few weeks, but I know he sent it in today. Just a message also answering what a missing link is or what the missing link is to Geula.
What is the missing link? Charlie, that's a great question, but quite frankly, it's one that I think that I'm far from qualified to address in a public forum. Instead, let me share with you a brief thought that I think might help bring us all just a little bit closer to the Geula. 2 words. Thank you. Now, I know what you're thinking. You probably figure that I'm about to give a little mini lecture about how we all don't show Hakaras HaTov often enough. But that's not true. You see, I think that common decency, along with the good upbringing most of us enjoyed, combine to mean that we actually do say thank you when someone does something for us. But that's what you might call reactive Hakaras HaTov. I'm thinking about something that you might call proactive Hakaras HaTov. How many times have we all had somebody do something for us? Say a member of Hatzalah shows up in the dead of night to help out for ourselves or for a relative. Or maybe you're in a hospital and you're hungry and tired and you head to the Bikur Chaylim room and you see that someone's prepared a pastry or a hot drink for you. And maybe you even take an envelope from the box on the wall, and after the fact, you write a check and you say, you know what, wow, these Bikur Chaylim people, these Hatzalah people, where would we be without them? Let me express my Hakaras HaTov to them now. What about if instead of being reactive, we were proactive? What about if we supported them in advance so they could do this great work for the rest of Klal Yisrael without having to worry about a budget? What's more, what about if we each carved out a niche where we could do something unique? After all, we all have our strengths, and we could generate a thank you from someone else to us. If we were all proactive in that way, I think we could truly bring ourselves that much closer to the Geula.
I got to tell you this one part that Shragi I thought was incredible. Shragi is such an incredible guy. He's so involved in the Aguda and so many different things. A lawyer, a balabas, really a real beacon in the community. Someone who I respect tremendously. But I think he made a great point. Reactive versus proactive, right? People are great reactively. They really are. And you see this time and again. Someone calls, can you step up? They step up. It's just the proactivity that usually is lacking by all of us, myself included.
Right, and then again, it follows the message really. What we've been talking about is stepping a little out of your comfort zone, being proactive versus reactive is a step.
Yeah, it's a big step. So we're joined here with a great individual. Ari Jacobs is in the house, a individual who has incredible experiences, somebody with a lot of insight, and someone that can really share some perspective. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with Ari on the phone, and we had a really deep conversation about what is missing. So Ari, tell us a little bit about yourself and your perspective as to what you think is missing today.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much. I appreciate your kind words. And running this whole program on Tisha B'Av can't be easy. I already feel it on my side, of the head. I just want to say that I'm like Shragi, I don't feel like I'm qualified in such a public forum, but I can only give my experience, strength, and hope that I've had myself. I usually like to say that I am the, ultimate, mother or father's, worst nightmare. I come from a wonderful family. I went to mainstream yeshivas. I had a wonderful, fantastical upbringing from everybody. No abuse, no trauma, and yet absolutely no connection to Yiddishkeit. I grew up with such wonderful people, and, I can say that now in advance. I would say at a young age, I did a lot of motion sometimes. I was the type of person that never just, you tell me to do something, sure, no problem. I was good in academic. I was academically fine. I really had everything else going for me. I just didn't know why I was doing anything. And, and unfortunately, when you have questions and you have these types of lack of understanding, by 12, 13, I remember I put on a hat. I think it was off maybe 10 days later. There was, I put it on, I did it off, took the pictures, it was no problem. So it came to a point at a very young age, 12 and 13, where I just didn't feel it. And, when it came to a point of just, I don't want to do it, and at the same time, so when I was in yeshiva, whatever, if this is the rules, these are the rules, sure, I'll do it. But there was nothing there. There was no heart. There was nothing. And so that means when I wasn't around any person that says A, B, and C, so I didn't do A, B, and C, and I never felt it. as anyone at a young age, it snowballs, and over time. And unfortunately, I spent a lot of my younger years completely off Yiddishkeit, and I really had no interest. I had no, I came to a point where I reached an age where I decided I can tell everybody, like, I'm done, it's good. You keep up a semblance when we have a wedding and all this, of course, no problem. But this wasn't for me. I moved out of my house, and this is all my teenage years, and I wanted to experience the world, go out and find, meaning. Yeah, there was a meaning search. I always used to say, I never was an atheist per se. I knew there was a God up there, but you're up there, I'm down here. Let's carry on.
Right. We're both good.
We're both good, exactly. You do your things, I'll do my things, and I remember actually. So I followed this for a while, and this is who I was until I was brought to a fantastic yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael called Kesher. I was 20 years old. I spent a long time. I was 20 years old, and that's where I was able. It's funny. Kesher's tagline is the connection to reconnect. Which is the essence, and I guess we'll go through exactly what connections I'm looking for here. But that's where I finally started to find meaning and purpose in life. And Baruch Hashem, just to even do a flash forward before we go back. I'm married for 10 years, 3 children, 3 amazing children, one on the way. I couldn't be more grateful, to Hashem Yisbarach and to my family and to everything that I have. And and because that does give me a little bit of a unique experience to see the in between, the back and forths.
Let me ask you this, because I'm fascinated by this whole thing, and I think what you went through is first of all, I give you a lot of credit for being able to come back and talk about it. Lots of times people go through these things and all of a sudden there's a lost decade somewhere, right? That gets whitewashed out of the resume somehow. No. I was doing like kavanas in the corner somewhere. Nobody knew.
I had to ask a lot of permissions.
Right, lots of permissions, and then the kids will get married in 20 years. Usually there's a lot of that. But so your bravery is, I'm sure, appreciated by the audience, and more importantly, mentioned rewarded by the Ribono Shalom.
Amen.
Do you find this is a common epidemic? People that are raised in great homes, everything is fine, but Yiddishkeit becomes sort of a game of motions, and at some point they go, yeah, I get it. I'm not scared. The Hashem sure is not going to zap me. I'm not mad. Just keep it. I'm good. So, do you find that to be like a common theme?
I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of people. Even when I was off and while I've been on, the Shabbos tables and this, and I do find this type of topic, it invigorates because I like to see both sides. Unfortunately, yes, I find quite often you have the people that just, when you even say, "What do you think your purpose is here?" and they'll just say, "I don't want to find out." Why should I say? I don't want to learn what the extra stuff is. I'll just do the X, Y, and Z and. Don't get in, I don't want to get involved in the nitty gritty because then I might have to do more. I might have to do this. In other words, sometimes we have such a lack of connection that we don't even want to connect. Which is a missing. And I find my Rebbe Michal Shon of the Kesher Yeshiva, he shared with me a story of obviously he has tons of these calls all the time. How a father called him up and said, "Rabbi, I don't understand. My son just doesn't want to put on tefillin, and I keep telling him it's a minute, just put it on, take it off. What's the problem?" So my Rebbe spoke back to him and said, maybe he doesn't want to do something that doesn't have any meaning to it. Maybe if you don't have a meaning, you don't have a semblance. If we are not giving over a connection, if I tell my kid, put it on, take it off, that's all you got to do, of course he's not going to do that. How can he connect to that something?
Right.
I'm not giving him something to connect to.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
We as a community, sometimes we take for granted, we assume that everybody is connected, and you go, like you said, you go through the system. Like, what do you mean? How could you even not be connected when you went to this yeshiva and that yeshiva? There are many parents that are struggling with their kids in that system. Like, but how do you make it more meaningful as a parent? Meaning, in retrospect, nothing from your parents, but you as a parent or as a yeshiva. How do you make it meaningful to a kid 13 years old who, besides for his baseball, Game Boy? I mean, I'm dating myself here.
Game
but
Boy.
I'm saying, whatever.
Game Boy.
You get what I'm saying.
Game Gear.
Game Gear, right?
You clearly don't live in America, that's for sure.
Again, it's a wonderful question, and obviously it's something that I've thought on a little bit. I want to share, I guess, how to put it into the perfect words from again another Rebbe of mine, Rabbi Ephraim Stauber, who was first a Rebbe in Kesher, and then he actually moved on to something. He has something called Bitachon Boot Camp, which is basically a painless way how to reconnect. He does a boot camp for Bitachon, and he really takes these concepts. Basically what he says, and I believe in this wholeheartedly, is that in order to build a relationship, a connection, you need positive experiences, right? Positive experiences create trust. When you ever look at a relationship, the more trust you have, the stronger relationship. The less trust, the less relationship you have. And the way to build trust is through a positive experience. It's funny you mentioned the parents and maybe even the yeshivas, and it's something that actually is a little bit on my head. And if you don't mind, I would like to say, it's something that also I was looking at Tzvi Gluck Amudim says this a lot also. And here, as somebody who was a kid myself, a lot of times children have a lot of questions. We have a lot of thoughts, and you know what? A lot of times they seem not to fall in line with what we would call, straightforward mainstream Yiddishkeit. I would beg the chinuch and the parents to always create an open line of communication to say, you can always speak to me about anything.
Yeah.
There is no taboo. There may be, it's not the right time. Sure, let's talk about it at a different time. Maybe don't use those words. Fine, you have sensibilities. There is no taboo subject. It doesn't matter what it is, because if a child has a question, and if he feels like if I go to my yeshiva, they'll throw me out. I go to my parents, they'll tell me, what am I talking about? They'll throw me. He'll find an answer, or she'll find an answer. And you don't want to know where they're going to find those answers. Yeah. And they will follow those answers.
Absolutely. I think your points are so well taken, which is, if you really believe at the end of the day that we are the luckiest nation and HaKadosh Baruch Hu and relationship to Him is the ultimate, to have fear and to have the whole, things are bad going to happen to you, to have the whole, you can only ask these things, to start cutting everybody off in every single angle, it's not consistent with we've got a bag of gold.
Right.
It's not consistent with we're sitting on a treasure. Let me ask you this, because time is short and we appreciate you being here. What was the moment that you said to yourself, I'm coming back? What was the insight? What happened?
So, Baruch Hashem, I had a lot of, this question I figured would come up. We had a lot of questions. And so I actually...
Rabbi Ginniger didn't give you the insights
before
we had, he shared the questions.
Baruch Hashem. Actually, there's a moment that I think would delve into actually the parent relationship. It's funny, this I wasn't yet there to jump onto Yiddishkeit, but this is what suddenly changed my perspective overall. It's funny. It's a deeply personal story, and I had to ask my mother a bunch of times. There's only one or two people. Hopefully,
it's just us on the. There's nobody here.
Excellent.
Don't worry about the cameras. There.
Close my eyes.
Just realized that we're about a half hour left to the fast, and people have tons of things to do.
Everyone's very busy right now, not eating.
Excellent. I was about, I think, 18 or 19 at the time, and I already spent a few years off. And I was with a bunch of friends and actually mentors. They weren't even religious. I had one or two religious mentors, but mostly were non-religious, just in life, where I was going. As I said, I wanted to experience life anyway without the Yiddishkeit. And we were celebrating in a momentous moment in my life. And, we all got together and we were sitting around. And the way that you celebrate is really you get around and you just talk about life and you talk about people and you talk about, people, you talk about, what has happened. And so I remember it was a celebration. So my mentors, they asked me, should we invite your parents, yes or no? And I said, at that time we still weren't, as should I say, from my side, weren't very close. And I said, no, thank you. This is me. This is my moment. Okay. Of course, good people as they are, they invited them anyway. And I remember sitting around, we're all in a circle, and my parents walk in, and I was just a little, it's my party. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Brush it off my shoulder. And so, my parents sit down, and so we go around, and we're all talking, and we're sharing, and we're, sharing experiences. And finally, at the end, my mother, who a wonderful person, and I love very much, and she was, very emotional, and I can understand, this moment. And here I am. I've reached a moment in my life where I've become more of a mensch, for lack of a better word. And she gets up, she goes, I want to speak. Again, I'm a little bit like, I agree, but, so everybody speak. So my mother gets up. So first of all, she goes around the room. She says, thank you, like a good curse to everybody that's there. And she speaks a little bit about that. And then she turns to me and she goes, Ari, I want to share with you, something that's been going on for the past 5 years. Every single night when I go to bed and I daven to Hashem. And I say, Hashem, I beg of you, protect Ari. Take care of Ari. I don't care if he never wants to see me again. I don't care if he'll never love me, if he'll never want to see me, if he doesn't want to be around me. Shoin. I beg of you, take care of him. Let him grow up to be a good Jewish person. I was sitting there. This is the person I didn't want to be around. This is the person I didn't want near me right now. I couldn't fathom how much, love. And again, a child, unfortunately, is born without the understanding of what a parent does for them. I had what you would call in America that glass-shattering moment, where I looked at my mother and I saw a whole new person. And I had that connection. All of a sudden, there was an intense, I felt the experiences, all of my resentments that I built up on my not being able to perceive what parents truly were, got literally washed away at that moment.
Wow.
And, that was the beginning of being able to build a relationship.
Wow.
And the whole point, I believe, is once you build a relationship with people, you can build a relationship with Ribono Shel Olam.
Wow.
You can imagine.
Wow, what a story. That was
imagine
great.
As we're nearing the end of Tisha B'Av,
Yeah.
can you imagine as a parent what the Ribono Shel Olam is thinking
Yeah.
every day?
Yeah. Ari, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for parents for raising you. We appreciate them. Thank you on behalf of Klal Yisrael.
Thank you so much for having me.
Really, that was really powerful. And your mother sounds like an incredible, and your father, I'm sure, as well. Sounds like incredible people. And Ari, listen, with your name, Ari, with what your name and your koichas are, I'm sure you put them through more than the show. But you know what? I tell you a secret. I put my parents through the worst also. By the way. So just letting you know, we should all be exactly. We should all be the best, and our kids should give us more of an easy time than what we put our parents through. Amen. What an incredible story! What an incredible person! And this, I think, what a way to sort of begin the end of the show here. We've got about 10 minutes left, so stick with us to the end if you want. You're welcome to as we start to come to the end of Tisha B'Av, and we're going to wrap up a little bit of all the ideas that we've heard right now.
But one thing that struck me about Ari, first of all, how honest, honesty was, but also I feel that on some level, parents that are watching in the audience, and even people Ari's age when he, 12, 13, first of all, to know that, like, there's a connection to be had and it's not out there in the world. Eventually you end up realizing that the connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu is in our community, is in Torah mitzvahs. But also to know that, that to relate it to how Kadosh Baruch Hu looks at his children.
Yeah. Yes.
And, and to know that if he was sitting around in this room, which he is, and he would say to us between our eyes, protect him, meaning I can't go to bed at night not knowing that you're protected.
Yeah, there's no question. I completely agree. What really struck me from what he said, I think, is something that all of us have to really take very seriously, which is it feels sometimes that when we raise kids, whether you're in chinuch or you're your parents, we're so worried that they're not going to do everything that we only focus on what they do. And we stop thinking about how they feel. And when you look at a kid that does more, you're like, wow, the kid's doing great. And he cannot feel one thing about it. He can literally be doing everything and feeling nothing. And he's the better kid. And you take another kid who's not going to do anything without asking, and we go, whoa, come on. And you can sort of size people up by how they look, by how they're dressed, by what they do. And what you do is a manifestation of what you think sometimes. And sometimes what you do is not a manifestation of what you think. It's a manifestation of not wanting to get in trouble. And we sometimes are so busy that we don't look deeper into each kid and go, wait a second, that kid's doing stuff, but he doesn't know what he's doing. So yeah, it's great. He's in 8th grade. But what if he's second year out of high school? What if he's 28? He's going to wake up one morning and go, what am I doing this for?
Right.
And we got him at 15. We got him at 12. And as opposed to sort of chalking up another win, we slow down and go, it's not enough. If we've got the truth, if we've got the best stuff in the world, it's not enough to settle on this is the motions that someone does.
Right. We had you're reminding me now, we had a boy I was teaching in the yeshiva in Eretz Yisrael. Boy came from America. Literally, from the beginning of the year till Pesach, you did not see this kid. I mean, whatever we tried to get him out of bed, get him to come to a Seder, nothing worked. Nothing. I mean, it was the one guy that you were like, we're not really doing anything with this kid. And he went home for Pesach, and his mother called us, and she said, I want to thank you for the boy you've made, for the person you've made my son. And we're thinking, like...
right number?
Yeah, like, you got the wrong number. And we're like, how do you see that? He said, He comes out of the bathroom, he says, Asher Yatzar. He makes a bracha before he eats things. And we're thinking to ourselves, here we are, we're judging this boy by how many Siddharim he comes to and what time he gets out of bed. And here's a mother seeing on his return that he makes a bracha.
Right.
That he's connecting on some level.
He's deepening the connection.
Yeah, it was a wake-up call.
Yeah, and I think that's what this is about, right? I think what we're really about here, and I think what the show is about, I think what we've tried to uncover here is to get more real, to be more real. That maybe is the link. I think maybe the link is we're doing great. We really are. We should be very proud of ourselves. We are 2 generations out of the Holocaust. And in those 2 generations, individuals greater than me, greater than you, have stepped up and have done incredible things. And there's a lot to be proud for. And now it's sort of time when we have all the infrastructure sort of built for us to now get to be real. But to be like real. And to really think about Hashem. And to really think about the neighbor. And to really think about our Judaism. And to really think about the person down the block that doesn't have what we all have. And I think if we can just be a little bit more real this year, I think we'll be able to really bring something big out. I think that may be what's missing.
It is, and it's what I'm seeing from this and the people that we met is that there's something about non-judging also that has come out numerous times, and being one, and again going back to the film that I had the schus really to put together. Together with Danielle Haas, who I'm sure is listening and deserves a shout out, doing a tremendous job, as well as Mrs. Chani Jurvel, who hosted that film, is that these people, every Jew was their brother and sister, and I can't tell you what a chizuk it was for me. We all know, for example, the Machlas house. I mean, these are people that if we saw them coming down the street, we'd cross over to the other side and she would have them sleep in her house because they were Jewish and they needed a place. I mean, to the level of, I was sitting around, my daughter could not put down the book, the Rebbe Tzemachel's book, and I had a neighbor that came up and he said, I'm reading this book and I'm trying to say to myself, like, I will never be Mrs. Machel. I can't do it. I can't have people sleep in my car. Just to let you know, the people that couldn't sleep in her house because they were off, they would sleep in the car, sometimes for weeks and months at a time, right? So I'm never going to be that, And even on the film, Mrs. Jerville asks one of the sons, like, what, people say, I will never be Mrs. Machlis, right? And he said, she would tell you, you don't need to be me. You need to be you.
Yeah.
And on your level, you got to go out of that, judging mode of like, just the perfect person is able to come into my house. And everyone else, they can find a cure of home,
Yeah.
And that to me was a tremendous message throughout.
Let me end with the following, because I think we're wrapping up the show right now, and let me sort of end with it and be able to sort of wrap this up. A lot of I think what you're saying, Yossi, and I think what we're hearing here is this idea of being you, right? Being the real you. I think that's what the show is about. I think what Project Inspire is about, and I think that's what Tisha B'Av is about. There's a great vart that I heard from Rav Shimon Schwab who said that Eicha has the same letters as Ayeka. Ayeka is first used when Hashem was looking for Adam Harishon. He says, Vayikra Hashem Elokim El Adam Vayomer Lo Ayeka. Where are you? And the way we see this is the Kodesh Baruch Hu is looking for him, but guess what? He's God. He's got X-ray vision. He can see through the trees. So why does he say Ayeka? So this is what Rav Shimon Schwab says. He says, not I can't see you. He says, I don't recognize you. A minute ago it was me and you thought like me, and we and you were one. And now the next day, you're thinking like the Nachash. I'm going to read out the words for you right here. It's so powerful. It says, Uperish Ayeka, Efoata, where are you? Kiviyachal HaKadosh Baruch Hu Marlo, Eini Mekircha, She'ein Ata Oso Ha'adam Shebarasi V'yatzarti. The Kodesh Baruch Hu looks down and goes, I see you, I just don't recognize you. And in many ways, the way Hashem built us was so big, so powerful, like Adam Harishon, the whole world at our fingertips, the capacity to give like what Yossi was saying, to be like some of these heroes, the capacity to reach out to people, to worry about people, to think about people, to go beyond ourselves. We have this inside us. This is us. But life gets busy, and we get taken by what the society and the community thinks is important, and we get stuck in our own ways, and that's part of life. And Tisha B'Av is that time where we get to come back and recognize ourselves. Because when you recognize yourself, the true you, the real you that can be incredible, the you that lives an awesome life, the you that steps out of your comfort zone because you know that greatness is uncomfortable, the you that's not going to go at 120 to your deathbed and says, I really could have pushed a little harder. That you is the real you. And sometimes it takes 3 weeks and 9 days in a fast and a lack of coffee for 25 hours to bring that out. But that's what this link is. I think the missing link is the real me and the real you. Because if it's just us here, and the Kodesh Baruch Hu says you can bring Geula, then what it really is that each and every one of us, at our true, incredible selves, the selves that the Kodesh Baruch Hu created that he would recognize, if we just filled our own link ourselves, we hold hands and become the chains to the end. And let me end with the following. This is from Rav Tzadok. I'll read this to you in Hebrew and translate. And this is a line that I keep next to me, because this is a line that is, I think, the core of why Rebbetzin Youngreis thought this certain way about people, and a core about how we should see about ourselves. Be'emes, he says, in truth, Kol echad mi Yisrael, every person in Israel, every Jew, who medugal b'davar echad, he has something special. There's something unique about you. Al kol Yisrael b'davar zeh, and this thing, hu bechinas melech al Yisrael. You are royalty because you have something unique that nobody else has. V'kol echad yesh lo davar echad. We all have one thing that makes us unique. The link. Shebezeh hu nichtar becheser bekeser al kol Yisrael. And my bracha to us this Tisha B'Av, and my bracha to you, is that each and every one of us become the people that we're meant to be. We become the people that Hashem recognizes. We become the link in the chain that leads us back to our Father in heaven, to our nation in Israel. And maybe, just maybe, this will be the last time that Yossi and I have to sit here in Brooklyn. We get to be able to sit in Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh for next Tisha B'Av b'mehera b'yameinu. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Charlie.
Hoy David Avdecha, Hoy Meheira, L'Saycha Tachinai, Uvnei Isa, Pikaroiv, Biyameinu, Binyan Oilam, V'chisei David, Hoy David Avdecha, Hoy Meheira, L'Saycha Tachinai.